8 ex-Navy personnel who were sentenced to death by a Qatar court in October will now face commuted punishments. The government has said the terms of the reduced sentence are not yet clear. The government also said that detailed judgment is awaited. Now, in a statement, the Ministry of External Affairs said that we're in close touch with the legal team as well as family members to decide on the next step. Remember, India had appealed against this death sentence. Let's go across to Vishnu Shom for more on this. And Vishnu, a huge relief and a big win for India in terms of diplomacy. The sentence now reduced to it's a jail term now, not the death sentence.
Well, I think more than a win for India, it's huge relief for the families. Obviously, their loved ones, 7 Indian officers, 1 Indian sailor, all ex-Navy, all extremely distinguished in their professional careers, who were facing the death sentence in Qatar, will no longer face the death sentence, which has been commuted. But as we understand it, they will face jail terms, and I believe the jail terms will be extensive. This after they were accused of espionage more than a year back in Qatar. They were initially told that they needed to return to India, and as they were getting ready to pack their bags and return, they were actually held and then put into solitary confinement. They went through a process of appeals. The families got involved. Consular access was granted quite late in the day. Finally, the government of India, through the ambassador, and then ultimately through the Prime Minister, who met the Emir of Qatar on the sidelines of the UN Climate Change Summit in Doha, they were all involved. And so in the final hearing which took place, or the latest hearing, I should say, which took place, the death sentence has been commuted. However, it will be a substantial jail term, details of which we're still waiting for some further detail before we actually report. But as I understand it, those are substantial jail terms which have been handed out. Unclear at this stage, Gargi, whether they would be able to serve out those jail terms in India, because there is an agreement, as I understand it, between Qatar and India, which enables that to take place. But briefly reading out the sentence, the statement from the External Affairs Ministry, we've noted the verdict today of the Court of Appeal of Qatar in the Dhara Global case, in which the sentences have been reduced. The detailed judgment is awaited. We are in close touch with the legal team, looking at the next steps. Our ambassador to Qatar and other officials were present in the Court of Appeal today, along with family members. We've stood by them since the beginning of the matter, and we will continue to extend all consular and legal assistance. We will also continue to take up the matter with Qatari authorities because of the confidential and sensitive nature of proceedings of this case. It would not be appropriate to make any further comment at this juncture. So this is essentially, Gargi, a first step that has taken place, perhaps the most important one. These 7 officers and 1 sailor will not be executed. Just very briefly, Gargi, they work for a company called Dhara Global, a fairly well-reputed company led by a large number of Indians, providing naval and maritime solutions across the Middle East. They were actually in charge of training the Qatari Navy when these charges of espionage happened. The charges themselves were very vague. Details of what took place in court have never really been revealed. At least they've not been outed to the media. So that's the background of these men. One of them, a Sword of Honor at the National Defence Academy, before a very distinguished career in the Indian Navy. So, all of them have had distinguished commands. It's good news for the families, but yes, a jail term, and as I understand it, a substantial one.